What's the latest with Carter Bryant, and what would his return mean for Arizona basketball?
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. This episode is brought to you today by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, we are going to talk pretty much all Arizona basketball, well, and a little bit Arizona football as well, and a little bit more Adia Barnes. But first, we need to talk about Arizona basketball. Now, a lot of people were talking and they're asking, saying, you know, what's the deal with Carter Bryant, and is he coming back to the U of A? Is he not? Well, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I do know, but I do think that there is a real opportunity, a real chance that he does come back. Again, does he? I don't know. But let's just talk about the impact if he were to come back first. First of all, he's probably about we're going to talk a ton about NIL tomorrow, and he's probably a $1.4 million player, something like that. Maybe a little bit more. I don't know. But if he comes back, I do believe that Arizona is a national title contender, and I believe that it is a team that could win at the highest level. He's a 3-point shooter who can also block shots. He can also he can get to the rim a little bit, and I think that he would be an All-American next year. I really do, and I think that he would be a player that is. I think we're at the stage now where that. You have a lot higher upside if Carter Bryant comes back because, again, of those reasons we just talked about. Plus, the shooting is huge. The shooting in all of this is a massive, massive deal, and he provides all of that. He's also a really, really good kid, about 6'8". So you could have some supersized lineups at times where you've got Carter, you got Koa, and you've got Mo Crevis, or if you go a little bit smaller, you got Tobe Awaka. Either way, Arizona would be really, really good, and he would put Arizona in position, I believe, to win a national championship. Now, without him, you got to obviously go get somebody, and you got to get somebody that's going to be good. Not only do you got to get somebody that's going to be good, you got to get somebody that can be as impactful. Now, the money that you will have is something that is going to be a big part of this here, because again, they're going to have money to be able to go get somebody if Carter Bryant isn't that guy. So we will see. I think it makes listen, if you're a top 20 pick, I understand all of that. On, how it means to, come back. And all of that. But I can also see a kid, though, that's also very, very young. Not only is he very, very young, he's also, like I said, emotionally, you can be a millionaire. You can make a ton of money, and you can just be one more year ready for the NBA. Listen, he's going to be an NBA player. We all know that. But at some point, though, he's also going to be a guy that, I think it's probably fair to say at some stage that he is, he's going to be off to the NBA. So we will find out. But if he comes back, Arizona's at the top of the food chain. Now, I will say, if he does leave, this coaching staff knows exactly what they're doing, and I would imagine that is going to be known sooner than later. So, again, we'll see. But if he comes back, a front court and a rotation where you've got something like Carter Bryant, Koa Pete, Tobe Awaka, Mo Crevis, Dwayne Aristod, you can win a lot of games with that one. You can win a lot of games with that. So let's talk a little bit about that rotation then. Listen, everybody talks about with Arizona, you wanted a power recruiting class brought in. Well, Tommy Lloyd has done exactly that. He's bringing in one of the handful of best recruiting classes in the entire country, depending on where you look at it. You got 2 top 10 players, and you've got a top 30 player who, I think if he's healthy, is probably closer to a top 15 type guy. That is a That's kind of how it breaks down. Now, how do we see some of these players unfolding? So let's look at the starters first in the front court. Koa Pete's going to play 30 minutes per game. Not only is he going to play 30 minutes per game, he's going to be the guy that he's probably not coming out much. And again, people ask, is he a 3-point shooter? Or no, not really, but he can face the basket, and when he faces the basket, he can go to work, and he can go to work very quickly. He is going to be, I think, somebody that is a lot better than some people think. He's also a player that you watch him and you're kind of like, okay, do you have a little bit of Luke Walton to him, where he's also a really, really good passer? I think the passing aspect for him is something that is a little bit underplayed. He is like I said, he's a really good, really good basketball player. But I think some people also don't understand quite how his game all unfolds. And that's, like I said, he's going to play 30-something minutes. Then you got Mo Krivas up front. Now, the coaching staff is obviously huge on Mo Krivas. They've been huge on Mo Krivas, and I don't believe there's any reason to believe that they won't be huge on Mo Krivas. He's going to continue to be that guy. Like I said, is he a little bit of a plotter? Yes, I get that. But he is also someone that you watch him, and he's going to be the first one where you can kind of just give the ball to and just tell him to go to work on the low post. Arizona really hasn't had somebody quite like that in the Tommy Lloyd era. And that, I think, is going to be I think that's going to be a real difference for this team, is having a player like that, because you really haven't had somebody like that. So he is, I think he's going to play about 20 minutes per game. Then you got Tobe Awaka coming back. Tobe is a stud. Now, listen, there's going to be some games where Tobe can't play. But overall, I think we've seen what he can do. He can get you 10 points. He can get you 10 rebounds. Some games against taller teams, it's going to be a little bit more of a struggle, but he's pretty darn good. And then you combine him with Krivas, and I think I'm more than okay with that as your starting rotation. So we will, like I said, we'll see. But I think he's going to play about 20 minutes, and I think Tobe is going to play about 20 minutes. Tobe also gives you a little bit of flexibility because it can move better than Krivas. I also think too that you're going to see Krivas shoot a little bit more than I think we've seen before. So those guys are good. Then you got Dwayne Aristod. Aristod, to me, is going to kind of be a jack of all trades. You're going to see him on the perimeter. You're going to see him on the post. This coaching staff absolutely loves Dwayne Aristod, and I think they believe that he is going to be an incredibly impactful player from day one. He's just got to stay healthy. And then you get to that point, and you're going to be in pretty good shape. Then you got on the perimeter then. So you got those four guys. And then on the perimeter, that's where it becomes a little interesting for me, because you got quite a few guys. And we're going to start off with a bench player. There's going to be a few guys coming off the bench. ADO, I think ADO is going to have some games he plays 5 minutes, other games he's going to play 18 minutes. We've seen ADO. There's a lot of ADO slander going out there. And he is, I don't really quite understand why, because he's a good player. He can't really defend. I get all that, but at the same time, he is a good basketball player. He is a player that he can shoot the three. He's a little bit better off the dribble than people think, and we've seen that he is ice when it comes to end-of-game situations from the free throw line. You don't just let players like that go. Like I said, he's a good basketball player. And if he's your eighth guy, I think you're going to feel more than okay with that. You should feel more than okay with that anyway. He is, like I said, he's really, really good. I watch him and I think to myself, I'm like, those are the kind of guys you need. You need low maintenance players, and you need guys that are okay not being super highly paid, all of that. And I think he is exactly that type of guy. You also have to understand too that there are some players that are just going to have limited roles, and they need to be okay with that. And I think that's something that this coaching staff has done a very nice job of, and I think that's something that some people need to understand. Now, the starters gets very interesting then on that breakdown. But first, Monarch Money, my friends. Monarch Money. Okay, here's the deal. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off your first year. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all the money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just your budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you just stop managing your money and start building wealth. Here's the great part about it. You can get surprising insights as well, all in one convenience and easy collaboration. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Check it out. Monarch Money, again, makes your life a lot easier. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the perimeter rotation. This is where I think it gets a little fascinating. This is a situation with this team where Braden Bradley, I'm going to say that all the time. Jaden Bradley and Braden Burries are going to make up a huge. They're going to play 30 plus minutes per game. Both those guys in the back court is really, really good because they can both handle, they can both create. And in Burries, you've got a real next level scorer, somebody who just can essentially do about everything. He, like I said, he's kind of next level. He's a guy that you're like, okay, I need you to go get a bucket. Cool. If you go and get a bucket, you're like I said, you're going to be in, he can do that. That's what he was bent to do. I know that he's supposed to be a point guard. I get that he's going to handle the ball some, but he was given a real quality, and that quality was to score the basketball. And I think he's going to do just that. Big, big, big fan of what he can do. And again, this is the one that Tommy Lloyd prioritized from day one. And we got to give Tommy Lloyd a lot of credit. The players that he prioritizes, if he wants them, he's got a really, really good hit rate. And he is like I said, it's hard to really argue with him because he's bringing in what he wanted to bring in this recruiting class. So, but that backcourt right there where you've got Braden, you've got Jaden, that is really, really good. Now, I know this might come as a little bit of a surprise to somebody, but ADO and Aristotle especially are going to they're going to play, especially Aristotle. He's going to play a lot on the perimeter. He's got ball handling. He's like I said, he's got a lot of different things that he can bring to the table, and he's athletic. That's the other thing that you watch with him. He is athletic. He is he's a decent enough ball handler. He can get the ball and push it. Is he going to initiate your offense? No. But he's got a little bit of that. He's got a little bit of that Dalen Terry to him, where he can get the ball and he can push it. And when he pushes it, he can be that secondary facilitator. That's what you want to have. This is, like I said, this is a really good team. The perfect team doesn't exist, and I think people need to understand that. I think people look at it and they're like, what is the deal here with this team? The perfect team does not exist, and need to understand that. So everybody's got a flaw. Sure, would you probably like to have another third guard? Cool. Yes, you would. But this is a very high-priced roster that Arizona has put together, and they've done it, and they've been able to stay very competitive in the process. So it is what it is. Listen, there's 10 teams that are going to, I think the stat that 24/7 put out there, that there's 10 teams that are going to be in that range where it's $10 million. Arizona is going to be a little bit below that, but they're not that far off. And I think this is going to be Tommy Lloyd's best team. And he is like I said, This is the year. This is the recruiting class that everybody said you had to hit on, and you hit this one out of the park. I'll say this again, that you'd love to have Carter Bryant back, but if you don't get Carter Bryant back, then you're going to be more than okay with they're gonna figure it out. They've got a little bit of they got money obviously allocated to Carter, and it's going to, like I said, I look for it to go in that direction. Now, could there be somebody else like an Evan Nelson? Let's talk about him for a second. Evan is an interesting guy here because he is he knows exactly what his role is, and some games he's going to play. Some games he's probably just going to play 2 to 3 to 4 minutes. He's a local kid though, and I think you feel pretty good about it. He can shoot the three. He's a little bit bigger. He's better than he's better than Conrad. People need to stop asking that. He's better than Conrad. Now, is he an All-American? No, but he's better than Conrad. He is and if you're in a pinch, you can play him a little bit. There were games like against Houston, you couldn't really, you couldn't play Conrad for sustained minutes. And again, I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke and say that Evan's the best player that's ever walked the face of the earth. That's not the case. But he is, like I said, he's an upgrade. Plus, he brings some legitimate size. He's about 6'1". He is not a, like I said, he is a, he's a good basketball player, and he's also cheap. That's something that you've got to understand. And he is and he's going to know his role. The thing about it too with NIL is that with that you're going to have some guys. Now the other thing to keep in mind when it comes to NIL is if Arizona's going to go after a developmental type player and try to get that developmental type player, they're probably going to have to come from money. Your Andre Iguodala's, your Bryce James, your guys like that. You're going to have to come from there because you don't need somebody that is just going to run off the second to get a little bit bigger paycheck. These guys already have money. And so, and the plan is they're going to play 2 to 3 years or be here 2 to 3 years and then play. They're in on that because, lo and behold, LeBron James doesn't need his kid to get into the NBA so that he can make money. He's already got one in the NBA. And I think that, that's a big part of what Bryce James is about. So overall, though, this team is going to be very, very good. I expect it. Like I said, I expect this to be Tommy Lloyd's best team. I would be very surprised if it's not. It's also going to be his most, excuse me. It's going to be his most talented team. I think it's going to be his team that's probably got the most NBA players on it. Again, he knows what he's doing. Do I understand why he doesn't offer more kids? He is I don't get it. But at the end of the day, it's worked out. And not only is it worked out, it's also been Arizona's also in a spot where they're going to they're going to win a lot of games. And I think he feels very good about where everything is. And I think that's a good spot for Arizona. Arizona basketball is in a really, really good spot. And Tommy Lloyd is the right man for that. Now we're going to talk a little bit of Adia Barnes. We're going to talk a little bit of football here. But first, SupplyHouse, my friends, SupplyHouse. Okay, here's the deal with SupplyHouse. Okay, here's the deal. All right, so get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. SupplyHouse. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, SupplyHouse is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with the complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? SupplyHouse offers expert support and industry-leading services, so you'll always talk to a real person. Join now. Here's the great part about this. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and other electrical supplies with a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Again, help them make your life, or let them help you make your life a little bit easier. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. Locked on your team every day. Okay, now, let's talk a little bit of Adia Barnes. You're seeing why Desiree Reed-Francois wanted to get rid of Adia Barnes. Because she is impossible to be around. Adia Barnes has gone after Arizona pretty much nonstop. And she really stepped in it then when she talked about how all of these schools hiring mid-major underqualified coaches are not showing priorities to their programs. That is her way of that is, like I said, that's a direct shot, and I don't understand why she did it. And she is being rightfully destroyed by about everybody on social media, and coaches in her profession saying the exact same thing. Adia, like I said, Adia did some really good things here, but Adia is just not an easy person to be around. Adia is a very egotistical person, and you are seeing that. We're seeing this all play out in front of us. I don't know that anybody should really be surprised by what is happening here. With Adia, she just never was able to make that next step as a head coach. That because of her personality, who she is, the player retention was always crummy, and the coaching retention obviously wasn't good as well. And it just is what it is. She's in a spot where she's moved on to SMU, and she has made kind of a spectacle out of herself, or as Mike Tyson would say, a skeptical out of herself. I don't see this. Listen, wherever she is, it's not going to be an easy ride just because she's difficult to be around. She's getting into Twitter fights with people. It is what it is. Now, with Becky Burke, I found her very, very impressive in her press conference. She clearly wants to get to work. She's clearly ready. I also think, too, it wouldn't surprise me. It also wouldn't surprise me if Burke has some, how do I put this? A little bit more money to be able to spend than maybe some people are thinking, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if they put together a competitive product. Now, people are like, well, with Adia, you're losing all these players. This team didn't even make the tournament last year. So, I don't know what else to sit here and say. They didn't make the tournament. They lost to NAU twice. They lost to Grand Canyon. So you can't sit here and say that you're losing this, this great product when it really wasn't a great product. Now, Burke, I think, is going to be a breath of fresh air. She comes in. She's going to, like I said, she's going to be in a, I think, a spot to succeed, a spot to be able to win. And like I said, there's obviously that. Now, when it comes to what the expectations should be for next year's squad, who knows? But just be competitive, and again, show that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. She's going to make $675,000. That's not bad. Is it going to be Adia's 1.2 or whatever? No, but Adia didn't deserve 1.2. And I don't like really bringing this up, but it's true. Women's basketball loses money. So if you're not going to be good and you're going to lose money, it's difficult to justify paying somebody $1.2 million, which is what they did with Adia Barnes. Like I said, I think with Burke, you're bringing in somebody that is motivated, that is going to be ready to go, and we'll see. Like I said, I think she's actually going to do fairly well in the portal. I think she's going to have a little bit more money to spend than maybe some other people think. So we will see. This is obviously something we'll be keeping track of. Now, just briefly, and then we're going to talk about it a lot more tomorrow. Arizona football, the offense, it's night and day. Watching what Seth Daggy does, he's clearly better than Tino Babers. There's a method to what he's doing. You can tell what he wants to do. My biggest concern with him and with this team is the offensive line, because I think the skill position players are going to be more than good enough. I think Noah's having fun again. Noah's getting the ball out. Not only is Noah getting the ball out, like I said, you look at all these players and they're studs. I mean, they're studs across the board. The problem, like I said, I have no clue about the offensive line. The offensive line terrifies me. I know they put Chuba in there on the O-line. Hopefully that helps. Maybe that gives them a little bit of depth. It also gets Chuba off the defensive line. So, we will see. All right. Now, tomorrow, we're going to talk a ton about NIL. We're going to break this one down, how NIL works exactly, what the going rate for players is. And because, again, I think there's a lot of confusions about, well, just, get rid of these two guys and then pay this money to that guy. That's not how this one works. So we're going to break that down. We'll talk some football as well. And we'll maybe even talk a little bit more Arizona women's basketball. But as always, very, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Locked On, your team every day. Have a great rest of your Monday, and we will be back with you tomorrow. TTFN, ta-ta for now.